Stranger Things 5 is right around the corner, and since I've only made one video about Stranger Things that I'm not really too proud about, I figured I'd go ahead and rank the whole show. That way I can talk about each season, and maybe at the end I'll talk about season 5 a little bit and what I expect. Stranger Things is a show that took me by surprise a little bit. It was a lot better than what I expected. I actually expected the hype to kind of kill it for me, and I went in pretty much expecting to be disappointed by all of the hype that it got. But I was pleasantly surprised by how much I really did like it and how consistent the series was throughout the whole show and throughout seasons, how it consistently got better for the most part. Let's go ahead and rank the seasons. At last place for me, I have season 1, unfortunately. Not to say that it is a bad season, it is actually a really good start to the show and a great kickoff. As a fan of the whole show, and as you keep on going, season 1, looking back, honestly just seems a little bit dull compared to the rest of the show. And I hate to say that because it's not really a dull season. It's actually really, really good. And it's a really good story. And I actually like the kids the most in this season. I wish the kids stayed this age throughout the entire show. The kids actually lose their charm the older they get, in my opinion. It's not a bad season by any means. It tells a really good story about a mom losing her kid and her trying to find him, and then it follows in the perspective of these kids finding this whole world of aliens and how they deal with it. So it's actually a really cool story. And then you get introduced to the character of Hopper, and he's just this small town sheriff that has no idea what's going on. He's just trying to find this kid, and then he gets pulled into this whole mess of aliens. And it's just a really entertaining story from start to beginning. It just comes short to the rest of the seasons because they are so much more hyped up. Their budget was hyped up even more, or hiked up even more, and they were just able to do much more later on in the show. So looking back, season 1 just seems a little bit dull, even though it's not really dull at all, especially for a series opener. There's not many times that you see a season 1 that is like top notch level. I mean, you look back to great shows like The Walking Dead, even though season 1 is amazing. You just compare it to any of the other seasons, and you can just tell it has a smaller budget. It has a smaller time period. They can't do much with it. So for a show like Stranger Things to kick off with a season like season 1, it is pretty amazing what they did. And the Duffer Brothers just worked with what they had, and they made the show that they made with it, which is probably the most popular show on Netflix. Period. So at number 3, I have season 2, and I was a little bit disappointed in season 2. Not to say that it wasn't good, because I did love it and I liked it a little bit more than season 1, obviously. It is considered, at least in my opinion, that it is the Halloween season, and it takes place in Halloween, or at least the early parts of the season takes place in Halloween. And as a fan of the fall season, I really expected it to push hard into that, especially for a horror franchise, and they just didn't. I mean, there are definitely some really good parts. You have a whole episode on Halloween night, which was really good. But other than that, the whole show kind of just puts that to the wayside. But it does tell a pretty good story, although I thought it was a little bit more corny than the first season. The way that the Mind Flayer kind of takes over Will, it kind of leads to some corny dialogue, especially like when he's talking to his mom and she's trying to make him a bath, and he's like demanding her to make the bath colder. It's just kind of odd to see this little puny kid demand his mom to make a bath water the way he likes it. It came off as a little bit corny to me, but the Mind Flare is really scary in this season, and it is a really cool design, especially when it's towering in the clouds and the red lightning flashes. It is a really cool sight to see. And I do think that 11 might be at her best in this season, to be honest with you, the if not in my number 1, probably in this one. She aged a little bit more from season 1, so that she's a little bit more of a mature actor, and I really like what they do with her character, besides the infamous episode of, I think it's episode 7, season 2, episode 7 is considered the worst episode in Stranger Things. And I really can't argue with that. It really is a really bad episode of 11 going to the city. I don't even remember really. She goes to the city to find a long lost sister, or maybe just someone else that went to this institute with her, or went to the same institute as her. I can't remember if they went together or not, but it's just really an odd episode, and it almost feels like the first. It doesn't feel like Stranger Things. It almost feels like the first episode of a completely different series, and it's really odd. But all that being said, I think 11 might be a little bit better in this season, especially better than season 1, and maybe the best of the whole series in this one. Um, she has a little bit of an edge to her, and she's a little bit more seasoned, and I think she figured out the character a little bit more, Millie Bobby Brown, that is. And they definitely made her the highlight of this season. And then you have the introductory of Mad Max, which I really like. I thought they introduced her very cleverly and in a really cool way, with the whole arcade being part of it. And then I really like the interactions of her and the kids meeting and then becoming friends. I thought that was a really cool aspect and a really realistic aspect of how kids just make friends. I really like the arcade in this series or in this season. It's a really cool vibe of the arcade, of the 80s arcade, something I never got to experience. So I thought that was really cool. And then the ending is one of the cooler endings whenever it fades up above the arcade sign and then it flips to the upside down. I thought that was one of the coolest endings of the whole show. So overall, I really do like season 2. It was just a little bit of a downer that they didn't really push that Halloween aspect that they could have. But overall, it is a good season, and the kids still have their charm uh, almost fully in this season. I'd say they fully still have their charm from season 1, just slightly gone, but really they still have their full charm in season 2. So I really like season 2, and it just comes a little bit short from the next two. I mean, really, I'm ranking seasons that are pretty much all 10 out of 10s. I'd probably give season 1 a I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10. I'd give season 2 a 9 out of 10. So I really like season 2. It just comes in a little bit short than the other two. So this might surprise some people, but I think this might be a popular answer. But coming in at number 2 is season 4. That's not to take anything away from this season. I think it is a great season. I like to call it the Nightmare on Elm Street season because obviously Vecna is a portrait of Freddy, pretty much. Not to say that it's a copycat, but it definitely inspired by Freddy. There's nothing wrong with this season. I really like this season. It's acted very well. I think the writing is probably at its best. The character of Vecna is probably the best villain in the whole franchise, or of the whole show. I probably should say. And I think the actor of Vecna plays him perfectly and exactly how he was supposed to play him. I like the design of Vecna. He's really creepy. I like the voice. It's super eerie. And as far as the visuals, I don't think you can get any better than season 4. Season 4 is by far the best visuals of the whole show, with my number 1 coming in at a close second, and at times it might be a little bit better, but season 4 is definitely jarring with the visuals, and it's really good. Despite Vecna, when you're revealing, when it reveals who Vecna is and he's flying through the air, that's kind of some bad CGI, but I can forgive it because really I don't know what else they could have done with it. The main downgrade of season 4 for me is the kids for sure. So I'm somebody that the age of the kids really bothers me or not bothers me, but it really takes an effect on how much I like the season. So I think the kids are at their best when they're really, really young, like season 1, season 2. And I think their charm is completely gone by season 4. They're basically adults, and it's clear that most of these kids are in their 20s by now. Maybe some of them are late teens, but they look like they're in their 20s. And none of them really look like kids, besides maybe Dustin. Dustin still kind of looks like a kid, but besides him, they all look like almost full grown adults. And I think that takes a lot of the charm out of the show for me. A lot of the story of Stranger Things is that kids are dealing with this monster or these monsters and this whole world of the Upside Down and the aliens. And when you get to season 4, it's kind of just like an adult, or a group of adults are dealing with Vecna and aliens and stuff. And it's just not as interesting. It still sets up for a really good story. I mean, it's above season 1 and 2 for me, so obviously I like it. I really do love it. But I think most of that hangs on the shoulders of the story, and the dialogue is really good and the acting is really good. But it definitely doesn't come from the charm of the kids, because I think the charm is, like I said, almost completely gone in this season. But with that being said, season 4 is amazing. The best villain, probably the most vicious villain, and jarring effects, and really good ending, really good music. Although I think this might be a hot take, but Running Up That Hill is a little bit overplayed in this. I think there are definitely times when they should have played the Stranger Things song instead of Running Up That Hill, but it's still really good. It comes in at number 2. So, obviously, by process of elimination, my number 1 is season 3. Ever since I seen season 3, I absolutely love Stranger Things. It wasn't until I finished season 3 that I realized I really loved the show. I really liked season 1 and 2, but season 3 was just on a whole other level for me. And I'm someone who waited until after season 4 came out to even watch the show. So, season 3 is just Stranger Things to me. I mean, season 3 is the definition of Stranger Things, in my opinion. The mall is probably the best 80s vibe in the entire series, in my opinion. You have the character of Max's older brother. I can't remember his name right off. I think it's Billy. Um, I really like his character. I think, spoiler alert if nobody's seen the show, but I think he makes a great villain. And whenever he switches from normal person to being taken by the mind flare, I guess you would say, um, he does that really well. And he just tweaks himself just a little bit to where you can just tell he's a little bit off to everyone. And obviously, the audience knows what happens to him, but to everyone else, he just seems just a little bit off and a little bit darker. And I really liked that about him. And I like what he did with that character and how he pretty much completely switched characters. I think he really plays that dark side good. And in my opinion, the kids still kind of have their charm in this season. They've definitely lost it a little bit. I'd say season 1 they're at 100%, season 2 they're at 90%, and season 3 they're probably at about like 75%. But it's still enough charm for me, and they haven't completely lost it like they did in season 4. And I'm obviously they've lost it for season 5. I'm hoping season 5 has a really good story, but I'll talk about that later. They still have their charm in season 3. I don't think there's really a bad episode in season 3 at all. None of them comes to mind. The 4th of July episode is amazing. I love the character of Murray and that whole timeline that goes on with Hopper. Murray became my favorite character in the whole show from season 3, and then I really liked him in season 4. I didn't mention him when I was talking about season 4 for some reason, but Murray is my favorite character of Stranger Things. I think he's hilarious. And then I also think that Hopper is at his best in season 3, even though, well, it's hard to say that he's not at his best in season 4 because you get the most of him, but I really like him in season 3. I think he's the most fitting Hopper. Whenever I think of Hopper, I probably think of season 3 Hopper the most. And then the monster looks really, really cool in this season. I think this is one of the best ending fights for sure. I'm probably anticipating season 5 will have a better ending, but the season 3 ending showdown in the mall during the 4th of July is just my favorite ending by far. It is, the monster is terrifying, especially in that episode where it's chasing the kids down the hall of, it seems like a hospital, but it must have been the mall. I just can't remember. I think he's terrifying. The monster is absolutely terrifying in this movie, and it leaves you with questions about the monster. You don't fully know everything. I mean, you know it's the mind flare, but there were still questions after this season ended that I was like, what the heck was that thing? What was that monster? And that just made it even more creepy to me that they didn't answer everything about it. And it's just one of my favorite villains. It depends on what day you ask me, but the villain in season 3 might be my favorite, but I think it's unfair. Vecna is a great character, and he's probably the best, but I really like the villain in season 3. And it's my favorite season of Stranger Things, bar none. I don't think season 5 will beat it. I mean, it definitely could, but the charm of the kids really is a strong point for me. So it'll be hard to take that away from me. So season 3 is my favorite season of Stranger Things. I think it is the epitome of Stranger Things. So when it comes to season 5, I'm just hoping it has a really, really good story because, like I said, the kids will have no charm for me because they're basically full grown adults now. So I'm just hoping for a really satisfying ending. I'm hoping for some deaths because that's one of my main complaints about season 4 that I forgot to mention is that I forget what reviewer said it, but I completely agree with him. He said something along the lines of, that was a lot of hoopla for absolutely nobody to die. And when I heard him say that, I thought about it, and it's like, yeah, no main characters died. The only people that died was new characters to that season, to season 4 that died. So I'm definitely hoping for some main character deaths. I'd be absolutely shocked if there weren't any. So there absolutely should be. And I'm just hoping for it to be a devastating ending, and I just hope it does service to the characters that deserve it, and I hope it doesn't linger on characters that don't really deserve it. I'm thinking that Steve and Nancy will probably hook back up. There's been hints and things about Will being gay, so if that's true, that'll probably come out. So um, those are just light predictions, probably more safe predictions. I think Vecna will probably die, but he definitely won't die without leaving his mark. I think even though Vecna will probably die, the town will be no more. I think the town will be left in a hole probably. So I'm just hoping that they're not afraid to kill people off, because if they don't, it'll probably lead to a dull ending. So that's my really only hopes for season 5. I hope it's just a good story. I don't think it'll be my favorite season, so I just hope it's really good. And I have no doubt that it will be really good. The Duffer Brothers have nothing else to prove to me. The only thing they prove to me is that they're amazing directors. So I have no doubt in them that they're going to make a really good season for the finale, and I can't wait for it. So let me know what your guys' ranking is down in the comments, and tell me your predictions or thoughts on season 5 and what it could be, so we can have a discussion about it. So thanks for watching, and that's about it.